Hello again everyone, and today I'll be taking a good look at another extreme wide-angle lens that's just made its way onto the market. The new Samyang XP 14mm f2.4. It's the second lens in Samyang's new line of premium grade lenses, a manual focus lens which costs £900 or about $1,000 US. It's designed for full-frame cameras, but it will also work very nicely on APS-C or on mirrorless cameras if you use an adapter. If you're watching this video, then the odds are that you already know the possibilities of using such a wide-angle lens. On a full-frame camera, that 14mm focal length cavernously yawns its way across landscapes and packs in the detail when you're shooting indoors. At 14mm, it's all about your backgrounds, composing and balancing them well. You can use a lens like this for other uses too, even portrait photography, so long as your subject doesn't mind having their facial features pretty distorted. At such wide angles, it's pretty easy to focus manually too. One good reason that third-party manufacturers like to focus on wide-angle lenses. What's also nice to see on this new lens is a wide maximum aperture of f2.4. For such a wide-angle instrument, it's letting in a lot of light, and again, that could be handy for shooting indoors or for astrophotography. Let's look at the build quality. Samyang weren't kidding when they marketed this as a premium lens, and it's made of metal, feeling sturdy and tightly assembled while not being too big. It's jam-packed with 18 glass elements of very complex optical formula, leaving it a little bit weighty. At the rear we have a metal lens mount, but without a weather sealing gasket. There are electronic contacts, so the lens can communicate with your camera, and the lens's aperture is controlled by the camera too. The focus ring is rubberized and turns incredibly smoothly and very precisely, which makes focusing the lens easy and enjoyable. The glass front element and lens hood are fixed in place, so there's no possibility to use conventional filters here. That's a normal design issue though for a 14mm lens. It comes with a plastic cap for the front, which fits on nicely enough. All in all, the lens is beautiful to handle, just like the new 85mm lens I tested a while ago, and it just works without getting in the way. Let's see about image quality now, and firstly, on a full frame camera, my 20MP Canon 6D. At f2.4, in the middle of the image, the lens is razor sharp. Contrast is vibrant, and colours are slightly warm. Over in the corners, even at f2.4, image quality is extremely impressive as the lens remains razor sharp and we see no chromatic aberration at all. When you stop down to f4, you see more brightness, and I'm unable to see an improvement in sharpness because, well, you can't really improve on perfection. The lens remains this sharp until you stop down to about f16, where the effects of diffraction are finally kicking in. So on full frame, this is the sharpest ultra-wide-angle lens I've ever tested by quite a degree. Let's see how the lens performs on a high-resolution APS-C camera now, my little Canon EOS M3. Put simply, it's the same story. The lens is, again, razor sharp straight from f2.4, from the middle and into the corners, and again, with almost no chromatic aberration. It remains this sharp until you reach f11 this time, as diffraction hits sooner on a higher resolution camera. So again, really it's an astonishing performance from the lens even on APS-C. If these results are anything to go by, then the lens will perform well enough even on one of Canon's 50MP cameras. Alright, let's hear about distortion and vignetting on a full frame camera. The lens projects some noticeable barrel distortion. However, it's a lot less than Samyang's previous 14mm lens, and it falls in a normal pattern that would be easy to correct in editing. Also, I had to be quite close to my test chart for this picture. If I step away a bit, you can see the distortion isn't quite so bad, and you can't really see it at all on an APS-C camera. When it comes to vignetting, we see some very dark corners at f2.4, although that is pretty much normal for a 14mm lens. You can't cheat the laws of physics. At f4, the vignetting is nearly gone. At f5.6, it's no longer noticeable. This lens can focus as closely as 28 centimeters, not very close really. But the good news is that, even at f2.4, close-up image quality remains perfect. Now on to work against bright light, an important consideration for such an extremely wide-angle lens. It's only an average performance here really, we can spot some flaring going on. When I have enough time, I like to test wide-angle lenses for coma. This shot was taken at f2.4, and as you can see, even right in the corners, we can't really see any coma at all. So it's an ideal lens for astrophotography. Finally, bokeh. With its wide maximum aperture, if you get close to a smaller subject, then you'll get quite dramatic images with some background separation. This lens's backgrounds look quite soft, with no nasty surprises anywhere. So overall, the Samyang XP 14mm f2.4 is quite a wonderful and useful lens. Its designers may not have performed any miracles in the vignetting and distortion departments, but then again, you can't cheat the laws of physics, and at least the distortion is improved over the original 14mm lens. This new lens's obvious selling point is its incredible sharpness, and there is buckets of it. If you're correctly focused, then resolution will pour out of your images, whatever aperture or kind of camera you use. It's easily the sharpest ultra-wide-angle lens I've ever tested, and I couldn't spot any chromatic aberration either. Combined with a lack of coma and its wide maximum aperture, this makes it probably the best lens available today for astrophotography, although landscape photographers will be delighted with it too. This new lens is quite an expensive option, but with its amazing sharpness and build quality, it comes recommended.